And so this morning on AM Live, we're all set to have a conversation on children behaving badly, how to stem these habits, and what to do to correct these habits. Manners maketh man, or so the saying goes.
What the hell your little light-skinned ass want?
I want to know where you get this fucking washroom.
What the hell you talking about, man?
You can't say shit. You got this shit from the 99 system.
Well, you stop talking to me like that, boy. I'm a gangster, you hear me? I'm a gangster around, you hear me? I'm a gangster, boy.
If you gangster, why your car is fucked up? You need a new fender, some new rims.
And in today's world, good manners are mandatory. It takes time and experience to get it right, so the time to begin to learn is in childhood. Children go to school to learn how to read and write, and they go to church to learn about religion. Learning manners should be taught in the home, and it is one of the easiest things to teach, even at a very early age, but it is not always done. Parental role modeling helps teach children to be caring and kind. In fact, some studies show that children can show signs of empathy and concern from a very early age. In other words, parents have the power to nurture, guide, show, and instill to teach kindness, responsibility, and gentleness in a rude and violent world. Social skills are important in all aspects of your child's life, from the playground to the classroom to the workplace. Relationship building skills also help us resolve conflicts in a healthy way. The benefits of having well-mannered children are too numerous to elaborate, but when children are polite, kind, and honest, they develop character and also make their parents look good. Joining us to talk about children behaving badly and, of course, keeping them from behaving badly is Dr. Catherine Syengo. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
You look lovely, and thank you for making the time to be here.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about bad behavior. It's very easy, especially when you're younger, to just pick up things and just do them because everybody else is doing it. But what is the danger in allowing children to keep doing whatever they see and whatever they want?
Yes, to start with, all children will misbehave either to gain attention or either to test limits, to see if I went pushed in here, what is likely to come out, or if they are not being given attention and they know every time they misbehave is when they are given attention, then they'll misbehave to gain attention. But it's good for parents to actually put limits and to make sure that when those limits are broken down, then there is consequences.
All right.
Yes.
Now, in looking for attention, what could be going on in a house for a child to feel they need to act out so that they can get attention? What could be going wrong?
Yeah, we are increasingly getting busier and busier, and so you find that children would always yearn for parents' attention, such that you are having parents who, even when you go home, you are carrying work home, and you find this parent, instead of actually playing with the child or finding out how was school, what are you going through, how was your day, and what are your expectations, what are your fears, you find that this parent, when we are home, then they continue working, and the child really wants the attention of the parents, and so they know, with time they realize that if I'm behaving well, my parents will not give me any attention because everything is fine. They'll only come in when they hear I've done something wrong, or when I've misbehaved, or when we are fighting, if they are siblings fighting. So they learn that with time, I yearn for attention, so I can get it when I misbehave. When I'm behaving well, then I'm not getting attention. And that's why we encourage parents that when your child behaves well, praise them. let them know that they would get attention for behaving well, so that they don't have to misbehave to get the attention.
All right.
Yes.
So they'd rather even go through the punishment, they'd rather go through all the terrible things that will come as a result of the bad behavior, but as long as they got that moment in the sun,
Yes.
so to speak, a moment with their parents.
Yes.
All
yes.
right. In looking at today's world, you know, expectations for many parents are such that you're working hard, you've got a great job, and you make some great money, so you take your children to the very best of schools. And they come home and you're expecting a fully polished, well-rounded individual, and sometimes that is not the case. It's not right for parents to abdicate their role,
Yes.
especially with character. And so how can we help modern parents know what to do? What is the first step for somebody who's got a child and they've done everything, but they're still displaying this behavior? Where do we start from in seeking help?
Actually, for a child to be well-rounded, you need input from home and also input from school. Even if you took your child to the best school, the teacher does not become the parent. You still have to be the parent. And so we encourage parents to do their bit. When a child comes home, they are coming home to be attended to by the parents. And so it is the parent to actually mold on the social aspect, because when they're in school, the teacher is doing the academics. They might help here and there, but the best child is, the children with best behavior are children who the parents are collaborating with the teacher. There are things which can only be taught at home, like sharing, like how to behave when there are visitors, how to behave with your siblings. These are things which are not taught at home. And so a parent cannot just say, I've taken you to the best schools and I'm not going to be there. So each one of us, all the parents need to create time such that, you know, my children are coming home at this time. I need to be home earliest. And children have two parents, so that if one parent is busy, the other one can actually be available and be there to be with the child, get to know what the child is going through, and be the parent. Okay. Yes, not to leave it on the house helps.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, our trend of the day today is hashtag good manners, of course, driven by this conversation that we're having today. And we've asked viewers to tell us about things that they like or things they wish they could see happening. And it seems like there's a lot of indecent behavior, you know, practical things that are basics, but people just are not aware about these things. For instance, the people talking about picking the nose, people who are not considerate of others. So let us define bad behavior. There's certain things that you will see your child doing today, and it may manifest in a very simple way, but in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, this could really be a big problem. Let's talk about indicators that you need to start nipping this in the bud because it can grow into something else. What are some of these behaviors?
Yes, some of these misbehaviors are like throwing a tantrum. A child who asks for something, like you're in a supermarket, they want a sweet and they must get it, or they want this particular toy and they must get it. It might not be within your budget at that time, or you don't think it is the best gift for them at that moment, and the child throws a tantrum. And tantrums can be thrown even by teenagers. I want my way, I must get it. If I don't get it, I throw a tantrum. So throwing tantrums is one of misbehaviors. You also have sibling rivalry where children keep fighting. You have even little like things like lying. A child who would lie either to cover up things when they are misbehaved. Children who will even steal. It can be as severe as that. We also have little things like dawdling, like you wake up in the morning, the child needs to be ready for school because you also need to get to school, to work, and the child, you tell them to dress and they take forever to dress. Of course, there are other things which are learned by modeling, like table manners. When you're eating, children will copy and imitate what the parents are doing. Things like no speaking. Those are things which the child is taught this is wrong, and also it is modeled. So there are all aspects of behavior, misbehaviors based on the situation. Things like disobedience. A child, you will tell, do this, and they say no. What will you do? So misbehavior, there are all sorts of misbehaviors.
And these can all grow. And I'm just thinking in the case of challenging your authority in the house, this obviously will lead to an individual who challenges every authority.
Yes.
So they may end up with relationships in the workplace that don't work.
Yes.
They don't get along with bosses. They
Yes.
don't get along with the law even.
Yes.
It's small things like these that can just grow.
Exactly. And children who have no empathy, such that they don't empathize with other people and try and understand. If I grabbed this toy from my friend, what would they feel? If I just push my friend, how does he feel? So people who can't really empathize with others, sympathize with others, those are also other forms of misbehaviors.
All right.
Yes.
Now, for a parent who's watching and they've noticed some of these things in their children, how do you go about correcting the behavior? Is it a very difficult process?
First of all, I would want to say that there's no perfect parent, and that even if you are doing your best, children will always test limits, because I've said they could either misbehave to gain your attention, or they could either misbehave to test limits and see what will happen. If I don't do my homework on time, what will happen? If I am told to return my cup to the kitchen and I say no, what will happen? They are trying to test limits. But again, we say that for a child to behave well, for one, we have said the importance of attention rule, that children would want your attention. So for one, you have to do the positive. Try and preempt the situation. Give your child attention when they are behaving well. Don't wait until you're called to school. That's the only time you appear in school. So even when the child has no problems, give them attention, be present, be there for them. But again, set rules, because we keep saying a home is not a democracy, such that if you asked what time should we be sleeping, you are likely to hear when you are tired after midnight, and this child is supposed to wake up in the morning and go to school. So you have to set rules. Again, it's not enough to just set rules. You have to make sure that those rules are followed up with consequences. So it starts with bonding with the child, creating time for the child, giving them attention, and then set limits, set rules, and make sure these rules are followed. We also, especially in Nairobi and urban areas, parents are not giving their children responsibilities, simple household chores, like making your bed.
Yeah. I know people who got 4 or even 3 housekeepers in the house, and you think, what are they all doing?
Yeah, and even if there's a house help, that is good, but the children need to know to do little things, so that they can learn responsibility. That I should make my bed, for example. I should be able to tidy up my room. I should be able to return my cups to the kitchen. When you give the children responsibility, you're not giving them because nobody else can do it. You're teaching them that in future, you need to be responsible, and
because
you need to be able to
take care of yourself.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you might work in a country where you can't afford house help, and you'll have to do the things for yourself.
True.
Yes.
Now we're going to talk about what to do when you see your children come home or exhibit some of these bad behaviors. What to do as a parent, because there's still hope. I want to believe that you can't totally give up just because they show you one thing. Doesn't mean that it's done and this is who they will always be. There are things you can do to correct and arrest the situation. But before we do, we've got a viewer who's joining us on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Sheila. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm so fine. I'm Tuprona B from Nakuru.
It's always good to hear from you. Sema tukusikie.
Okay, I would like to ask psychologists only 2 questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, is it possible to change genetically behavior child?
To change the genetic?
Yeah, you see some of the behaviors are born genetically. You find you'll find sometime even in our community. You'll find our parents are saying that this child looks like exactly like his grandfather or his great grandfather.
Okay.
So there is nothing we can do to change him.
All right. Now, you know, biologically, there's some things which we will inherit. For instance, you'll get your grandmother's shape. But behavior, can you inherit behavior genetically, really?
Okay, behavior is directly influenced by the environment most of the time. There might be temperament. You know, children have different temperaments. Temperaments is what is inherited. Like there are children who are easy, others are hyperactive, others are slow to warm up, they are quiet, they are not, they are introverts, others are extroverts. So those are temperaments which are inbuilt. But temperaments do not necessarily give you a license to misbehave. Misbehavior has nothing to do with the temperaments. You might be a shy, quiet person, you might be an extrovert, but still that does not equal to misbehavior. Your personality or your temperament does not necessarily equal to your behavior. But we also have parents who label children and say probably there's somebody you don't like in the family and say you're behaving like so and so. But these are your children. You're the one supposed to shape the behavior. And you see, funny enough, people parent the way they were parented. And so you end up doing the things your parents did, and you start seeing the same behavior showing up, because you're exactly just repeating
exactly what was
yeah.
there. And
yes.
then I've heard people say,
Yeah.
I don't know where this person picked this up from.
Yeah.
And there are times when you will see their parents do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And then you hear them say, I don't know where this child gets this from. I think they get it from so and so. Meanwhile, that exact parent has displayed that exact behavior. And I like what you say. Temperament is not a crutch for bad behavior.
Yes.
Temperament, it has nothing to do with bad behavior. But for a parent spotting these behaviors, what do you do? What's your first step of action?
Okay, first you need to understand what is making the child misbehave. Is it that you've never set the rules for that particular behavior, and the child, you need to sit with the child and tell them, this is wrong, and if I see you do it again, then there'll be a consequence. Because some behaviors crop up as a child grows up, and you might never have noticed it. So the first time you notice a misbehavior, talk to the child if you have never talked about it. If it's something you have already raised and said that already set a rules and it's broken, then enforce a consequence. For example, if a child is supposed to do their homework before they watch TV, or before they do their electronics, and you find that they have gone straight to the TV, then there should have been a consequence which was already fixed. So if it was not fixed, fix it, and don't punish the child then. But if you had already fixed it, make sure the consequence you promised, you give it. But I also, from our view, although I couldn't hear a caller although I couldn't hear most of the conversation, the question clearly, we also have in our African society where children are named either from after their grandparents. Yeah. And we, in African society, parents can tend to favor, like they favor the one who is named after their parents. That's something I've seen. As a parent, all those are your children, and you shouldn't discriminate. And when you label them and you say you behave like so and so, then children live up to the parents' expectations. If you talk nicely about them, you are prophesying, and they'll actually live up to your expectations. If you expect little from me, then you're likely to get what you expect from me. So we need to be very careful what the expectations we give to our children. If you label your child, you will never behave well, then they become that. If you tell them, I know you can behave, this has happened, but I know you are a good person, you can behave well, you will do things right next time, then they live up to your expectations.
Yes, they've got every reason to behave well, because you're right there affirming them.
Yeah.
And that's really what all of us are looking for, affirmation in one way or the other.
Yes.
And we have another viewer who's joining us on the line. Hello there. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
What's your question or comment?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
The thing
Okay, we'd like you to speak up, please.
Okay, I have returning my teeth.
You've got children?
Okay, as a thing,
Okay.
I got, and when
We can't hear you. There's something wrong with the line. I think we're going to have to try and call you back because you're breaking up. We can't hear you very well, so please let's get her back on the line because I couldn't hear.
It's not clear.
It was, yes, but now as we wait for her to get back to us on the line, when reprimanding your child, when you notice that they've got something wrong that they're doing, what happens when you're in a public place? As a parent, do you, unleash the belt and rain some, judgment on the child in the supermarket, or do you tell them to wait until you get home? Because in what you're saying is when you spot the behavior, you've got to attack it, when and where it has happened. But what if it's happened outside of the home? Do you go with take it then?
No, most parents, when, like, for example, a child throws a tantrum in public, some get so scared and avoid taking the child back to the same situation. They would rather leave you in the house rather than go with you to the supermarket to go and throw a tantrum again. But again, that is wrong because you need to expose the child again and see whether they behave. When a child throws a tantrum in the public, for example, depending on the situation, you might have to pick the child and take them to a place where you tell them, no, this is wrong, this is not acceptable. It is unfortunate that when a child throws a tantrum in the supermarket, then everybody turns their attention to them and everybody is like, why don't you give him what he wants? And that is not good for the child, because this child is getting attention from all over, and that shouldn't be the case. So for maybe I would tell people, like, if you see a child is throwing a tantrum in the supermarket, the parent is handling it, just leave them alone. Because if you give them attention, the child knows, for me to embarrass you, I will just scream and everybody in the supermarket will be on my side. So if a child throws a tantrum, don't give him. So make sure if you had, so long as you had discussed it with them. The problem is if you've never told them. If you didn't tell them, I was not going to buy you a sweet, and they're asking for a sweet, then that time you can give, and then the next time you tell them, I don't want you to be eating many sweets because of 1, 2, 3. And when you go to the supermarket, make sure you give an alternative. Instead of getting a sweet, I'll buy you what is your favorite fruit or what is your favorite healthy snack. Make sure you give a tantrum. A child who tantrums because you're giving them a particular clothing to wear, give them a variety, give them 3. They'll definitely find one to wear. But if you give just one and insist it must be the one, then you encourage tantrum. Sometimes children tantrum because you've given them, like they have been out for too long, they are tired, they are sleepy.
This is too much. Take me
like
home
you've taken
now.
to a wedding,
Yes.
and it is too long, and there's no, like in a church, there's no place to play, and that's why it's most churches there is a place for children where they concentrate for a short time and then they go out and
they're
play.
off.
But when you're keeping them in a main service and insisting you must sit there and be quiet, then you also need to see, is this child tantruming because we are exposing them to things which are beyond their behavior. So you actually need to know the cause, but even if it's in public, you have to put your foot down and ensure that if you say a no, it's a no. The child will know, even if I throw a tantrum, I don't get what I
So there's
was
no
denied.
point wasting
Yes.
energy throwing that tantrum.
Yes,
Anyway,
yes.
wow, what a conversation. I know I'm guilty of looking at parents who are having children having a real right stop and thinking, do something. So I am guilty and I will never do that again. But we have another viewer who's joining us on the line. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Hey, madam, how's it going?
Good.
What's your question or comment?
My question is, I have this child.
Right?
He's turning 2 today.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever he gets angry,
Yeah.
he just keeps quiet and hide in a corner. I was wondering, is that a medical issue or just a behavior?
Okay. So unlike other children who will scream and yell and throw things, her son retreats. And he doesn't talk to anyone?
No, he just breathes heavily, you know.
Does he
like,
cry like he's shaking
just
and he's just...
breathing. Yeah.
Okay. So he retreats.
Yeah, like I mentioned, different children have different temperaments, and it's always very good to understand your child, and not just your child. If you have more than one child, then each child will have a different temperament. So it's very good to understand your child, and as a parent you learn how your child behaves when things are not right, and you actually learn how to make them open up, because we also talk about your love language. There are some children who will interpret love when you spend time with them. There are children who will interpret love when you buy them gifts. There are some children who will read love when you affirm them, when you heap them with praises. So it's good to understand your child. But a child who withdraws and doesn't open up, even after a while, even after trying to probe them up, it is good for the child to be assessed, because we are increasingly getting more children getting depressed. We are getting children and adolescents committing suicide and getting depressed. So it's good for them to be assessed, such that you don't just keep watching. Because even if it's a child who is introverted or who is slow to warm up, eventually they will open up, especially to the immediate family members,
Right.
the parents.
And
so it's good to have the child assessed if you're worried.
Okay. And
Yes.
Grace,
Okay.
a question for you. When he calms down, does he talk to you about what he was feeling, or does he just, not bring it?
No, the problem is,
Yeah.
right now he's almost turning 2, so he doesn't know how to talk clearly.
Ah, okay. So I
Yeah.
think this one is a time issue.
Yeah,
now.
yeah, he's still very young. Yeah,
Okay.
but you can still learn, even with that young child, you can learn how you can tame behavior by praising when they actually open up. You are talking, that's nice. You're trying to say what you're feeling. I can see you're upset. I can see you're sad. So, children learn emotions from us. When you describe what they're feeling, they might not actually understand what they're going through. They don't understand what being frustrated feels, what being sad feels, what being annoyed feels.
Also
us to-
demonstrates as the same bad
Yes.
feeling, and
Yes.
they can't voice
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It is us to observe and say, I can say you're frustrated, I can say you're happy, I can say you're sad. Then they will learn that language, that when I'm sad, this is what is sadness, this is what is happiness, this is what is excitement. from the language. That's how we teach
okay.
language, because
And of
that's a
course,
child who is still learning language.
he's still learning. And of course, it's what happens before he runs away that gives you the guide in terms of what to say to him.
Yes.
Because then you're voicing whatever
Yes.
that thing he could be feeling is.
Yes. Yes.
So, Grace, thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
And I hope she has helped you understand a little better and given you a tip or two.
It's really helped. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, and have a lovely, lovely day. Children are they're just beautiful, complex, you know. There's everything right with children, and it is our responsibility, not only as parents, but as a society. And that brings me to my final question, because there's so much we can discuss about this, and we're almost out of time. And my final question is for the rest of us, the outer society, because parents have got a big responsibility. It goes with the territory. But for neighbors, for housekeepers, what kind of permission can a parent give to these people who are directly influencing the behavior of children? Is there anything we can do? Is there something that parents should allow the rest of us to do in raising children?
Yes, as women increasingly go to work outside home, then we can't actually assume the role of we can't ignore the role of house helps, because they play a good role, a big role. And we usually say it is good to have the person taking care of your children actually trained to actually understand what they need to do and what they don't need to do, because some of them probably they don't have children of their own. Some of them probably they had, you know, with parent the way we saw the way we were parented, so they are likely to do what they saw being done. So it is good, like at Nairobi Parenting Clinic, we encourage parents to bring in their maids and house helps to be trained, so that at least we are sure we are doing the right thing. But at least try delegate the other things like cooking, like cleaning the house. Make sure that when you are at home, then you actually deal with the children directly. That way, then at least you are delegating the non-delicate things and taking care of the children yourself. Yes.
Okay. And in doing so, you're teaching them a life skill, taking
Yes.
responsibility for
Yes.
things, being accountable for things.
Yes.
Because if I give you a duty at the end of the day, I expect to see that you finished.
Yes.
And then, of course, affirm you and praise you for work well done.
Yes.
Wonderful. We're definitely going to post details of the Good Doctor on our social media sites. So if this is a conversation that you would like to follow, you can definitely pick it up and continue. But earlier, we did pose a question of the day. In fact, hey, there have been more questions today. So let's take a look at the winners list. Starting, of course, with our question on AM Live, which was the last Apollo mission, and the correct answer to this question is Apollo 17. So congratulations, Mulwa Mutinda, you pick up an AM Live t-shirt from us today. Daktari, help me with the second winner's name.
Which was the last Apollo mission?
And
That's the
answer,
one we've already done.
And now the winner's name is?
Nancy Mwesh through Facebook.
Awesome. Congratulations to AM Live winners today. Well done. And now to our next question, and this is of course a question courtesy of Nation FM that has launched today, so tune in. And the question was, when did Nation Media Group first launch a radio station? And the correct answer is 1999. Wow, time flies. And Nyambura via SMS, congratulations to you. You pick up 2,000 shillings. A second winner of 2,000 bob is Dennis Okoth via SMS. Congratulations to you. Daktari, who's our third winner?
Our third winner is Mesli Mwende through Facebook. Congratulations to Mwende.
Another winner again.
Eric's, he did this via Twitter.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Eric.
Well done. And of course, Ruth Owili via Facebook. Well done. You pick up 2,000 shillings from Nation FAM. They did launch the first radio station. The Nation Media Group did launch the first radio station back in 1999. And you can tune in today and find out what's on air. It's definitely uplifting and positive. But as we get ready to wrap up the show this morning, let's take a look at events that you can check out this weekend. After all, the weekend countdown begins on Thursday. So May the 13th to June the 1st, you can check out an exhibition at Alliance Francaise. And this is the European, oh, it's not an exhibition, it's actually the film festival. My bad. Should be some good movies to see.
Then on May the 15th, we have Darugu Camp 360 and the Italian prisoners of war in Kenya. That will be at the Italian Institute of Culture. And up next also is Thursday Night Live featuring Nick Kosovo at the Choices, Baricha Road.
All right, fun times, fun places to go.
All right.
All right.
So yeah, interesting conversation. I think
Dr. Kathy is awesome.
Awesome, yeah, and also the callers with their comments and the questions. I think was very insightful. Good interview.
And of course, thank you to you for watching and participating online and on phone. We have come to the end of today's show. We got to say goodbye. Looking forward to your company again tomorrow from 6.
Remember to pick up the copy of A Daily Nation today, where Uhuru is to pick county chiefs in a power shift. And of course, we're going to be relaying that live coverage for you here, live wall-to-wall coverage of Uhuru picking county chiefs in a power shift. That is what is headlining the front cover of A Daily Nation. And of course, also Sheila had an interview today about Nation FM.
Yep, on air today, so tune in to 96.3.
Yes, shifting from Easy to Nation FM. It is a sidebar story also on page 5 of A Daily Nation today. A new radio station takes to the airwaves today. Easy FM will be relaunched as Nation FM, a radio station which will concentrate on current affairs.
All right. Sensible conversations is what it's all about.
Yeah,
so tune in, take care, stay safe.
Right. See you tomorrow.